So we don't miss part 2. Go check out part 1 last week. But today we're gonna talk about what that means when we're talking no miss days on our modern row home that's standing just behind me. Let's get to it. Basically, we're at about 3.5, 4 weeks from our pre-drywall inspection, and we literally have had no miss days on this project. The first item that we had obviously was inspection, where they're gonna be able to check all of our systems. That's gonna be our plumbing, our mechanical, we're gonna have our electrical checked, and we're gonna have everything ready for our insulation. This is a critical step to be able to get everything right behind the walls. So we're gonna take a day to be able to check and ensure that everything's good to go. All our blocking's in place, all our shims are in place, our framing company does pickup, and then we can be able to move on. So in those 4 short weeks, what's taken place? We've had our insulation taken care of, which is spray foam for the outer cavities as well as the garage. All of our soundproofing, which is batting throughout the house for all our interior walls. We had our energy consultant come out to be able to start taking care of our first section of our HERS rating, after which we were able to drop off drywall, get it hung, drop off our interior doors, since we have a kerfed jamb detail that's required for us to hang doors in between hang and our tape and mud. We've been able to start our pool, and although we dug a little bit before 4 weeks ago, we've been able to get our plumbing, our electrical, our rebar, and shotcrete completed within that 4-week time period. And of course, since we've been able to hang inside, we've been able to ensure that all of our exterior sheetrock details, our DINS glass for our stucco ceilings have been hung appropriately so that we could be able to move forward with our scratch coat or brown coat, as they might call it, outside for our stucco detail. As you might imagine, there's quite a bit of coordination that takes place to be able to make this all come together. So let's talk timeframes and how we're able to accomplish this tight schedule. So of course we got inspection day, but usually our inspection day is not going to be a complete down day. We're going to be double checking all of the work to ensure that anything that needs to take place is handled prior to us getting spray foam in place. Spray foam and soundproofing for this house is a total of about 3 days for prep, spray, and our soundproofing. As soon as that was complete, we had 1 gap day for interior to be able to ensure that we can get delivery of all of our sheetrock appropriately placed within the home. During that down day, we're gonna have our energy consultant come in and be able to double check and verify the depth of the spray foam so that we can be able to get that entailed in our HERS rating report. So as mentioned, we've accomplished a lot in 4 weeks, but how do we get to this point, and what are all the pieces that allowed us to be able to get our project moving at the pace that's needed to be able to hit our timeframes? The first week we passed inspection, we were able to get our insulation on track and moving forward, which is about a 3-day process, after which we're gonna bring in our energy consultant to take care of our HERS rating, our first site visit to determine how thick that insulation is on the exterior of the home. But that's not all that took place in that first week. Because we're working on the interior of the home, we were also able to accomplish our plumbing and our electrical in our pool that was dug previous to our pre-drywall inspection. And this is one of the critical components that make up a good schedule. What can we take care of and who can we stack in without creating additional problems between our trade partners? Well, the pool detail is completely out of the way of anything that's necessary for our insulation. And so it's great to be able to stack those together to ensure not only timely completion, but to ensure that there's no inconveniences for the trades that'll be working on site together. But that's not all that happened on the 3rd week. One of the things that we knew that was critical is for us to be able to get scratch coat moving. It would be most beneficial for us to get to shotcrete before our stucco company came back on site, which we'll get to shortly. But the third component, the last component that's important. But the last item that I want to discuss about that first week that's probably the most important is ensuring that your next trades are outlined. And we needed to ensure that our finish carpenter got his deposit so that we can get doors on site in a couple weeks to ensure that we have no missed days. And we'll get to that in week 4. So week 2, we were able to continue with our rebar detailing for the pool, for all of our structural components, and getting everything ready to soon be shotcreted. In addition to that, we had our drywall dropped off and got everything out of the house that ensured timely completion of hanging drywall for the next 7 days. We also followed up to ensure that our deposit was received with our finished carpentry team and that the doors had actually been placed. We knew that that was one of the critical components that would really put a hang up in the overall process of drywall. Now during week 2, there wasn't a ton of management to take place, but we definitely had our on-site construction management team come out and ensure that all of the drywall was moving appropriately and that we had the amount of individuals on site every day to ensure prompt completion of this 2-story home. So let me show you one of the critical components of why it's important to show up to your job site every day, even if you have 6 to 7 days of just hanging sheetrock. Come on inside and take a peek. So basically on day 4 of sheetrock, we noticed that we had a good reveal for when we're gonna trim out our HVAC in this coffered ceiling detail. And there were a few modifications that were made during framing, and it was only at sheetrock that we noticed that the reveal was appropriate at our vents that were located by the door and over here in the back of our living room. However, we noticed that this coffer didn't get packed out with another stud, which would have created some issues when we went to go trim out in the future. So at day 4, we were able to recognize it and allow us time to be able to pack that out with one more stub and get an even reveal that is going to be necessary for the completed product. Now, a lot of you might say, hey, you could have caught this ahead of time, and that's true, but it's very important to be walking your job site day in and day out to be able to catch any minor details that can make a huge impact and a huge time impact if not addressed immediately at the time in which it's discovered. One of the coordination pieces is that you need to get your doors delivered on site right after hang. And the reason for that is because we have a kerf jam detail and they don't want to hang these doors prior to drywall, which is one of the messiest processes of the construction industry for residential building. And so week 3, we were able to finalize the drywall hanging, which allowed us to be able to drop off our sand substrate for our stucco finish and get our doors on delivery schedule for installation, which will take place towards the beginning of week 4, which will allow us to be able to have a small gap to get these installed so that we can get our drywallers back on site for tape and mud during week 4. One of the critical things with coordinating a schedule is having good relationships with your trade partners. It just so happened that our sheetrock company had a gap in the schedule that allowed them to be able to come and get most of the corner bead in place, even though we didn't have our doors installed. And having the conversation with them up front will really help to accelerate this process when they get back on track next week after our doors have been hung appropriately for our kerf jam detail. So overall, the key takeaway for No Miss Days is ensuring proper scheduling, proper accounting for the next stage, and of course, having great relationships with your trade partners, allowing them to be efficient and effective, not in the way of each other, to accomplish their goal, which is to get on your project, complete it at a high level, high quality, and high efficiency so they can move on to the next job and continue to make money moving forward, while we are able to hit the timeframes that are necessary for us to make money on a development project and for our clients to be happy with the overall progress of their individual home by seeing people on site every day working to complete their home. We appreciate you following. I would love to hear any comments of how you might be scheduling your projects efficiently and effectively. And as always, have a great day.